Do you still see regulatory challenges that are being faced by countries because of taboos that they hold on on cannabis as a drug? Despite of say we've seen countries where there is more illicit trade and legalizing could actually benefit because it brings the whole uh, not just the business but the medical side and the recreational side and the tax purview. What are your thoughts on that?
I think there's points on, oh, okay, legalization brings about, an uptake in underage consumption. Is a common myth that is used to refute the potential or possibility of cannabis legalization. The fact that that has been debunked now by legal markets, it proves that it is no longer a valid argument. So the arguments against are getting weakened per se by the growth in data that is in existence. So data coming out of the US showcases that just because it's a legal market does not create an uptake in underage consumption. Underage consumption has generally dropped. I think underage consumption of all things is that's not technology has generally dropped. And just because it's legal doesn't mean that it is easier to access. So a lot of the roadblocks of legalization are now being unblocked through data and real world information on what's happened in legal markets. Regarding the pushback from the healthcare industry, so you can see what's happened in legal markets in the US where recreational follows adult use, and I think that's going to be the same for Europe. You've got this quasi recreational user in terms
Mhm.
of or medical user, and classifying exactly what a medical user is continues to define challenges like
Mhm.
a celebrity endorsed cannabis flower, for example.
Mhm.
Is that medical or is that recreational? Like how many celebrity endorsed pharmaceutical products are there out in the market? So you've got major, like in this is happening in Australia, it's happening in the UK, it's happening in Poland, it's happening in Germany, where prescriptions has shot up the last 12 months, like absolutely shut up. Regulators are now coming in and going, what is this? Why are we now seeing so many prescriptions on board? What does it actually look like? How are you prescribing? What's your, and these are all new clinics and new businesses that are tracking it. Yes, they're existing doctors, but you then have a lot of conversation internally within the doctor community of how best to implement and best practice and so forth. So there's this clash of commercial interests saying,
Absolutely.
get me more patients, get me more prescriptions. And you've got then the pushback of doctors associations going, you are discrediting our profession. How can you justify doing so many prescriptions a day? Not to correlate cannabis with, say, Oxycontin or something, but this explosion in prescriptions is cause for concern because you've got a new medicine that, look, obviously from historical perspective, yes, it's been around since millennium, but within the healthcare system, it's relatively new, and they are working on their existing framework. So there's a clash within that framework as well, and it's going to be really
Absolutely.
interesting how how that pushback develops, because it might give markets more caution, or it might give them more reason to say, actually, do you know what, we're overburdening the healthcare system with what is recreational users. We need to service a lot of these consumers now and say, look, don't bother going to your doctor, just go to your dispensary. You don't need, here's a recreational model. And I think that's what a lot of companies would rejoice in. But there's also the closed off model gives them a little bit of protectionism on the patients than fully open consumer model. But yeah, what's in the US for states that's got medical, it's like 3 to 5 years is generally the timeline to turn into rec. You'll see it in most markets. Germany was 2017, but marketing coming into fruition. Germany was fairly bang on those timelines, when you think of policy and implementation. Now their approach is different, but Czech Republic, which is coming out, is is very different. Like there is legal sales for adult use. You can buy legally in Switzerland, for example. Now, that was unimaginable 3 or 4 years ago, but there's legal sales happening for adult use in Europe. But I'm talking like legal framework that can actually be built on and scaled. If you think of the overall health of the sector, it's usually in really good health. It's in a really, really good place. Yes, there's an absence of capital, to drive it forward, but that's a global economic issue. There's major challenges almost as you develop out that supply chain. But when you think of the quality of expertise that has come into the sector, to help a lot of those issues, and those issues relate to product developments, they relate to best quality care, they relate to patient technology, they relate to quality of services, full stop. We're in a really, really good place.
I would agree with that, and especially with this constant dance of recreational versus medical. I think there's high time that we realize that it is part of the recreational industry as much as it is a medical plant.